From regulation to evidence, why clinical research matters more than ever. Presentation of bioresearch group, early phases, bioequivalence and bioavailability clinical side. Over the past years, we have seen a dynamic growth of novel nicotine categories, including e-cigarettes, heated tobacco products, and nicotine pouches, often positioned as alternatives to traditional cigarettes. These new categories are now under the loop from regulators. In the EU, since October 2023, characterizing flavors have been banned in heated tobacco products. In parallel, the ongoing revision of TPD is expected to extend regulation to emerging categories such as e-cigarettes and nicotine pouches alongside new taxation proposals targeting these products. In the United States, all new tobacco and nicotine categories must obtain pre-market authorization through the PMTA pathway. In recent years, the FDA has significantly increased enforcement, rejecting a large number of applications due to insufficient scientific evidence, particularly in relation to youth risk and population-level impact. That clearly shows that new category of nicotine product is no longer just a matter of innovation. It must be firmly grounded in robust clinical and real-world evidence. Regulators are no longer asking only what a product contains, but what it does to the user and the population. And this is why clinical evidence is becoming the foundation not only of regulatory approval, but also of credible public dialogue. Building on this, we can see these regulatory changes are closely linked to how patterns of nicotine use are evolving. While traditional cigarette smoking is declining across many countries, we are observing a rapid increase in the use of alternative nicotine products. In particular, e-cigarettes have become the most commonly used nicotine product among the youth. According to World Health Organization data, around 1 in 5 adults report recent e-cigarette use. At the same time, there are significant differences across countries. For example, Poland shows one of the highest prevalence rates in Europe, clearly above the EU average. Importantly, the market continues to evolve. While e-cigarettes dominate in terms of overall use, new categories such as nicotine pouches are currently the fastest growing. At the same time, other products such as heated tobacco are facing increasingly strict regulation measures, including flavor bans in the EU and strict authorization requirements in the US. So overall, what we are seeing is not a reduction of the problem, but rather a shift both in the types of products used in the complexity of the public health challenge. Building on the regulatory changes and evolving usage pattern we've just discussed, we can see that this is also leading to an increasingly complex public health debate. At the global level, the World Health Organization is calling for a strict regulation of novel nicotine products, particularly in relation to flavor bans and youth protection. At the same time, the scientific landscape is still evolving. While a growing number of clinical and real-world studies are being conducted, the available evidence is not yet sufficient to fully assess long-term health outcomes and population-level impact. This is reflected in the diversity of views within the scientific and medical community. For example, oncology and cardiology societies emphasize that the current evidence does not yet confirm that these products meet the criteria of harm reduction. So what we are seeing is not a lack of research, but rather a gap between rapidly evolving products and the evidence required to fully understand their impact. And this is why the debate remains complex, balancing potential harm reduction with concerns about youth uptake, addiction, and long-term risk. And this brings us to the role of clinical research. What we are observing across regulatory frameworks is a clear shift in expectations. Regulatory are no longer relying solely on product composition or emission data. Instead, they are increasing focus on clinical and real-world evidence that reflects how products actually perform in real-life conditions. This includes biomarkers of exposure, nicotine delivery, toxicological profiles, but also behavioral aspects, such as how products are used, how users switch between categories, and how risk is perceived. What is important is that the evaluation is no longer limited to the individual user. Increasingly, regulators are assessing population-level impact, including both potential benefits for adult smokers and risk related to youth uptake. In this context, high-quality, well-designed clinical research, supported by robust infrastructure and regulatory standards, is becoming a cornerstone of decision-making.